Welcome to On the Town. This week we thought we'd invite you backstage to our editing bay and show you how we put together a show. Now we're very excited because last night we got a fantastic set of footage for a show we helped put on. We came to Fashion Island, California to benefit the Orange County Museum of Art. And with the help of our friends and a real dedicated group of ladies called the Islanders, we helped put together a show with two of the greats, the icons of television. Now this is pretty important for us because this year is the 50th anniversary of television, and when you talk about who really started the modern television era, it actually started in 1948 with the Texaco Theater starring Milton Berle, and we brought Milton Berle and the other great icon from the early 50s, Sid Caesar, right to Fashion Island. Now, what we really enjoyed about this, it was a benefit, as I said earlier, for the Orange County Museum of Art. And we met a lot of people who helped us, especially the group called the Islanders, who were really a support group for the children's programs from the Museum of Art. And with under the tutelage of the great Ann Stern, the president of the Islanders, Eve Cormier, Fran Mulvaney, and a number of other ladies, we put on a great event. Now the ladies themselves put together a dinner, and they decorated all of Fashion Island as if it was the Titanic. And as they brought 200 plus patrons to a beautiful dinner, they sailed through Newport Beach on the USS Titanic, and really had a beautiful evening, dancing, everything else. And then on around 9 o'clock, Sid Caesar and Milton Berle took the stage. Before they took that stage, though, early in the day, I had a chance to sit with Sid Caesar and do a little interview. So let's look at that first, and then we'll come back and show you the rest of the evening. We have a great treat this evening. All year we've been celebrating the 50th year of television. Television started really in 1948, and sitting next to me right now is one of the greats, one of the real pioneers, one of the great television icons left in our industry, Mr. Sid Caesar. Sid, you, I think we would start off by telling our audience, you really started a musician, didn't you?
Yes, I was a musician before I went into comedy. But by being a musician, you play a lot of shows, you see a lot of people, you see a lot of actors, a lot of comedians, a lot of singers. And I got the idea maybe I could do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Sid, you're really one of the few people who does mime and gibberish at the same time. You either see one or the other. We've seen a lot of great mimes in early television, but we really don't see. It's almost like a lost art today, though.
Well, today it's a stand-up sitcom world.
Right.
It's either stand-up or it's a sitcom. And it's joke, 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 joke. There's very little playing with character, playing about, it's everything is in your face.
Right.
It's you and you and you. And when we were working, we made fun of ourselves. And by making fun of yourself, then they can empathize with you.
Right.
Because they say, yeah, I went through that. I know a guy who went through that, and my uncle went through this or that. But it's a different world. The language that they use today is whatever you want.
Right. Nothing you'd ever see on television 20 years ago.
Or 5 years ago.
That's true. You know, I saw a great show last year on PBS, and it was really one of your rat sessions where a lot of your writers came back, and I think everyone remembers you most for your show of shows, which really started your career nationally, though. Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Now, wasn't that did you convert that from the stage originally?
No.
So it was just...
That was done as a television show. It was born as a television show, and it was like the first act of a Broadway show because it was done live. That's a different animal than today.
Right.
Because it's one take, and the show is an hour and a half long, from 9 to 10:30 at night. Excuse me. And there were no cue cards, there were no teleprompters, so you had to know it. And that's like flying without a net today.
Well, it was also early television, you know.
No, it was a different, because today they don't look at you in the eye. They go,
right.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. You go over here and I'll tell him, and you come back to tell me, and then we'll go.
Right.
So this way you look, in the eye.
I think that for the new person in television, they would have no idea the type of writers you have. And I'm going to go over some of the writers that was on that show, and I like a few comments from you. And of course, these are household names that went on, but you had of course, you had the Oscar Simon. You got
No, that's Neil Simon.
Neiman Simon. I'm saying the Oscar winner, Neil Simon.
Yeah.
You know, and he's somewhat of a quiet man today. Was he that way when he was writing?
Yeah, he still is. That was his nature. He doesn't put anything on. He's a marvelous, marvelous man. They were all geniuses because to put a show out every week, not for 20 weeks or 22, 39, and an hour and a half long live for 39 weeks every week. That's quite a chore. And today, I don't think they could do it.
Well, we had Neil Simon. Let's go to the other side, Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks, yeah, oh, sure. There was Mel Brooks. There was Larry Gelbart.
Right.
There was Carl Reiner. There was
Woody Allen.
Woody Allen. There was Aaron, Mel Tolkien.
Right.
These are the top people, and they really. I was so lucky to get them all, because they wanted to work for me.
Right.
And when they came, it was like, now can you imagine all those guys in one room?
Oh, of course. Well, let's take Larry Gelbart, the originator of MASH, Tootsie. I mean, great work. But probably your show was their breeding grounds, really, because that really was probably some of their first writing assignments for television.
Oh, sure.
Which is a very different medium in those days.
It was quite a different medium because we did everything. We did silent movies, we did foreign movies, we did satires on movies of today.
Right.
We did sketches, we did everything you can think of, and we did pantomimes, and we did everything, and it was a well-rounded because everybody worked in every place. They worked in sketches, they worked in opera. We did operas, we did satires of operas, so that it was an all-around show. Today it's did you come in yet? And also, excuse me. There's a 24-hour laugh track that goes on all the time. All you got to do is plug into it.
Right, right.
You want to... Oh, the captain's here.
There's the captain. Sid, you won an Emmy in 1951, and that was for your show of shows.
Mm-hmm.
You came back and won another Emmy in 1956.
Yeah.
How long did your show of shows, that particular show, have a run? How many years?
Shows ran for 4 years. And then Caesar's Hour ran for another 4 years.
Right. That's what is the Emmy for 56, correct?
Yeah. Well, we have 56, 57, and 50, 55.
Mm-hmm. When you came back after a while, you left television for a little while, but you came back to the stage out in Broadway and you did your show.
Yes.
What was it like going back to Broadway?
It's marvelous, sure.
Instant reaction, I mean.
You get, we got an instant reaction too on television.
Right.
We didn't have to, see, again, you forgot it was live.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something. I'll tell you a funny story.
Well, I'm getting at is you didn't have 500 people, even though it was live. You have the reaction of the entire audience on a live Broadway stage that you don't have in filming a show. In that respect.
We're not talking about filming a show. Mm-hmm. We're talking about doing it live.
Right.
See, let me explain to you again, so you understand what live is. I was giving a lecture at Columbia University in New York, and all the people that were there were writers of shows that were on the air. So these are men who were working right today. When I finished the lecture and I told them that, it was a show, it was live and it was an hour and a half long, the first question was, Mr. Caesar, we understand the show was an hour and a half long and you did it live. But could you tell us how long did it take you to shoot the hour and a half?
I understand.
Now you understand what I'm talking about?
I think
because you're talking, and when you do it live.
Right. Well, no, I think that maybe I didn't phrase that for you as well as I should have.
Yeah.
You go back to Broadway,
Yeah.
you're in a major theater.
Because when we worked on television, we worked at 1,500 people and 5,000 people. Mm-hmm. There wasn't like 250 people in the audience.
Did it surprise you that when you went back to Broadway, how successful you were?
When you're on television, if you can make it on television,
right,
you can make it anywhere, especially live.
Mm-hmm.
If you can do that.
But things had changed so much from the time.
Oh.
That's what I'm talking. You had a span there of about 15 years almost from when you were doing that live on television till you went back. You didn't get back to Broadway to what year when you did your own show?
1960.
Right. So you're talking 6 years.
No, we're talking
54, 55.
No, I didn't go off the air till 59.
Okay.
So that's 2 years.
Well, I think the show that when you went back to Broadway, Caesar, it was a one-man, the set of skits.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, let me ask you about the making of a movie that stands on a lot of people's mind. It's a mad, mad, mad world. I mean, you had all types of personalities.
How'd you like to start every morning with 18 comedians?
It's stealing your jokes, right?
No, they're talented people. They really are. They don't steal any jokes.
How long did it take to film that movie?
Well, I was on the movie for about 5-6 months.
That's a long time.
Yeah, well, it took about a year to shoot. It was a marvelous movie.
When I think back of the great writers that Sid Caesar trained for television, they were the men who went on for the next 50 years to write some of the greatest television shows. And you know, in just a couple of minutes, we're going to walk back on stage, and I have to start the show. You're going to see it last night. We're going to be in 130 countries around the world and from coast to coast on 300 stations domestically. So we're getting ready to set. You'll see the footage from last night where I walked on stage and started the show. Good evening, everybody. Can you believe it? Newport Beach, August. Could it be any better? Really. It's my pleasure to come for you tonight, and we are going on coast to coast right now and on the town in 130 countries around the world. It really is a pleasure to be here. I was in the museum a couple of days ago, and in the museum, in the center gallery, there is a timeline from 1900 to present. On that timeline is obviously World War I, World War II, even in the opening of the museum. But in 1948, exactly 50 years ago, it notes the beginning of television across America, and the note in that particular time and year says Milton Berle starts the Texaco Star Theater. It is really a great honor to be here tonight, to have these great men on stage, and it's my pleasure to introduce the Director of Entertainment for the Friars Club, who's our producer for the evening, Mr. John Francis.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You listen, we want to hear a lot of noise when we bring this gentleman out. Let's hear a big round of applause. Let me hear it. Come on. That's it. Now you got it. Now you got it. Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here. It's nice to see all you lovely people, and right now it gives me great pleasure to introduce the gentleman who is an icon, who's celebrating his 85th year in show business. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, the great Milton Berle. Let's hear it.
Put up the lights all around the trees, please. Now I can see you. Very happy to be here. And I want to just say, ladies and gentlemen, by your great reception that you gave to John Francis when he mentioned my name, was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. On the Titanic, there were different nationalities from different countries. Here to explain, if I may say this, is Mr. Sid Caesar, who's up in the brain, knows everything about the story about the Titanic and the fatal sinking. You're on, Professor.
Merci, mesdames et messieurs. Est-ce que vous allez trouver la chante pour les chants, Freddy Toussaint, le Titanic? Le Titanic va dar plus de chance, je l'avais pendant la semaine, moi les femmes, vous ont trop de chèvres avec les pantomates. Ce soit l'événement, tradition entre les belles, pour prendre des architectures sont faites de Titanic, le frappant, puis le sont pas de gigabames. Voltaire, sur ce met dans ton tribulation village, choix de des sèvres,